Yes, Pika, you are Robin to my Batman. You partner. Hi there, welcome back once again, and it's time for the Golden Age of DC Comics 365 Days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of great comic book shop style conversations, the kind I wish to recreate today, here, right now with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are the most important ingredient in our recipe of this daily comic book shop style talk. Thank you so much for tuning in, and keep those comments coming. We've been doing this all year, and we're going to be doing this straight on through. So thanks for joining us. We're using this 365 days book for its intended purpose. We are opening up to today's date, which is November the 6th. We're going to look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We are going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books, you guessed it, every day for the rest of the year. Woohoo! Yes, I'm enthused. I'm excited. I love talking about comic books, and I'm glad you're here. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The silver age between 1956 and 1970. The bronze age between 1970 and 1985. And the copper age begins in 1985. I get these definitions and standards from the glossary of the latest Overstreet comic book price guide. This is a great resource. I love having this. I feel well informed. And what else will make you well informed being a comic book fan, in my humble opinion? If you don't have either one of these books in your collection, stop, drop, and giggle. I've got the cure for your blues. Indeed, I've got this, which is Understanding Comics, The Invisible Art by Scott McCloud. It's about sequential art and storytelling. It's a crash course in art history. It really is. It's really fun. And this, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stan Lee, Stan the Man Lee, and John Buscema. These are, as I like to say, use a visual aid. We're gonna talk about we're talking comic books, but a comic book's an artifact, and we're on the outside of it, looking in, literally. And so, and figuratively as well, because these books give us the insider's view, looking out, and it's wonderful. And I beseech you, from noob to veteran, if you don't have these books, get yourself a used copy. Give an old book a second life. And I like to pimp this book too. This is The Golden Age of DC Comics, a 2004 Abrams press publication, written and curated by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, and Geoff Spear. This has a link to the Amazon page in the description where you can get your own copy. You can play along at home. It will look great on your coffee table too, and it also makes a great gift for a geek. I know. I also have links to those other 3 publications. Hook yourself up with some knowledge, But let's get to it. Let's open up this book. And to today's date, it's November the 6th. And sweet. And I hope that you're doing awesome. And I hope you're feeling awesome. And I hope that you're clobbering your challenges and not being clobbered by them. Over and out. It's a mailbag. And let's see. And it's Green Lantern, Alan Scott. Let's do this. It's art by Irwin Hasen from the cover of All American Comics, number 53, October of 1943. It's from the cover, and there's a mailbag in the back, and you see it says U.S., and maybe he's delivering mail to GIs who are being deployed and trained and away from their families, because they have the draft and everything. Or maybe it's just ensuring that, even though we're in a time of war, that our infrastructure won't fail us. We have got the Green Lantern making sure that mail will be delivered domestically, for a proper postage stamp, indeed. Let's read the blurb. This costume, with its clashing colors, was the main thing that kept artist Martin Nodell brought to the table when he tried to sell his editor, Sheldon Mayer, on the new idea for a new superhero. Nodell also mentioned something about an ancient lamp. Meyer was far from convinced, but he needed a new character. So he called on Batman's original writer, Bill Finger. Together, they concocted an origin story about a magic lantern and the ring that transferred its powers to a mortal man. Nodell drew the first stories under the pseudonym Mart Dellen, but Green Lantern soon fell into other hands. In this story, he delivers irony along with the mail, which has been missing for 90 years. Now, if that's a joke or something, or maybe perhaps a reference, I have no idea what that means. None. We've talked about Alan Scott enough, so let's, I think, we've been covering this all year. Sometimes I think that, we come back to the same characters. We've done their origins. We've talked about them, how, someone like Alan Scott, written in 1940, is now an 82-year-old character and still has life in him and still has stories to tell. And I love that part of what we do and how we are comic books fans and how the past still matters and how cool this is. But we're doing something I'm calling DK Week, and it's Dark Knight and Frank Miller's Dark Knight. It started a couple of days ago when I just wanted to show one panel from one magazine, and it ended up falling into a rabbit hole, or a pika hole, one could say, of my entire collection of it. And I believe I pretty much have everything, even one issue. I think it's just for shits and giggles. I got one, all right? I'm not going to get them all. The story doesn't, interest me. But this is really recent, too. But this is Superman Year One. This is the Year One treatment of Earth 31's Superman. All right? Now you know. And thank you, Wes, at Thinking Critical, who answered that question for me about a year or two ago. And we've been friends ever since. He has me on his show. It's wonderful. And today we are talking about something that figures into the whole story. So we have Dark Knight Falls. This is Dark Knight Returns. This is book 4. So that's it. That's the name of it. It's Dark Knight Falls. The other ones are like Dark Knight Triumphant and blah blah blah. And I mostly read mine in the first printing of the trade paperback, and I've had actually a few along the way in the past 30 plus years, and in the past 36 years of this comic book. There have been, it's still current. If you didn't know, Frank Miller has never stopped telling these Earth 31 stories. This Dark Knight Returns Batman. It's still going on, and part of that was a prequel. And we didn't call it really a prequel because there were two associated things between Dark Knight Returns DK1 and actually this came out later than DK2. DK2 comes out in 2001. We're talking about DK2 tomorrow. So we're going to get to DK2. I love DK2. Lots of people do not. And I just find it subversive in a time where that was few and far between, and when that was special. Such as with this. This is pretty. This is actually not pretty subversive. This was this was written actually in 2005 to 2008. Was that it? We gotta scroll up here on the wiki. Yeah, it was. It was published by DC Comics with a sporadic schedule between 2005 and 2008. And it abruptly ends at issue 10, which is not included in this trade paperback. So, I mean, is it worth it to me to go out and get issue 10 to be the completest? Just to maybe. And that's the sickness of being a comic book fan. But this is All-Star Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder, written by Frank Miller and drawn by Jim Lee. And, Jim Lee. And inked by Scott Williams, because Jim Lee has an inker named Scott Williams, which it just the art without Scott Williams is a bit it's a bit less iconic to what you're used to. You're like, what's the difference here? Sometimes it's Scott Williams inking, and because Scott Williams has been like Jim Lee's like constant inker like all this time. And this is All-Star Batman and Robin, and this is the origin story of Dick Grayson. And this is beautiful, beautiful Jim Lee art. And Jim Lee, remember, he used to draw ladies. That's Vicky Vale. And this is supposed to be cheeky. This is a Frank Miller Dark Knight book, so it's going to be a bit more risque. It's going to be a little bit more violent. And that was actually one of the criticisms of this was, well, let's see, we got Black Canary showing up too, and there's a famous scene in here with, Black Canary and Bruce screwing on the hood of the Batmobile, coitus, Oh wow, there's a fold out in here too of the Batman. Wow, I forgot about this. This was All-Star Batman. This was supposed to be an elite or top shelf. Look at that. This is Jim Lee art. This is Jim Lee's All-Star Batcave. See the helicopter up there? That looks familiar, huh? That's Ace the Cloak Birdie. That's it right up there. Uh-huh. And we get the green T-Rex. We got everything. I mean, like all the Batmobiles. I'm going to fold this back into the book now. You get the tire of. Oh, look, he's building the Batmobile that we'll eventually see 30 years later. In terms of story, and in terms of that's pretty much like maybe a 30th anniversary edition thing, but it's been more time now since I've got that. Indeed. Yeah, wow. I'm the goddamn Batman. We got Diana in this too, but remember, this is just beautiful Jim Lee drawing. Look at that splash page. And it's fun and everything, but it's we get Barbara Gordon. It's fun and everything, but it's incomplete, and it is pretty hyper violent too. Oh, this is where Robin gets the idea to beat up Hal Jordan. Yeah, and that's a good one, huh? And but yeah, All-Star Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder. It felt like it took forever for it to end, and it kind of ended incomplete. There was supposed to have been a sequel called Boy Wonder, and the unproduced sequel was going to be rebranded as Dark Knight Boy Wonder and run for 6 issues, completing the story Miller and originally intended to tell. Oh boy. But here's some, I like one of the biggest train wrecks in comic history, says comics journalist Cliff Biggers in Comic Shop News, 1064, November of 2007, shortly after it concluded. That Miller disregarded every aspect of Batman's character in order to tell a Sin City story in Bat garb. It was farcical and Tarantino-esque. I like this one here. The book also has its defenders. I see it as this is the book because Batman is really hyper-violent in that. Here's a criticism. Ian Robinson, writing for Crave Online, wrote an essay critical of All-Star Batman and Robin, calling it a, quote, comic series that just spirals deeper and deeper into the abyss of unreadable. I understand Miller's need to reinvent, but this is just badly done and in poor taste. The art by Jim Lee is first rate and really wonderful to look at, but Miller has stripped Batman of all of his dignity, class, and honor. This isn't the Dark Knight. This is Dirty Harry in a cowl. The worst part is that this is exactly what Batman isn't about. In one fell swoop, Miller has erased all the good he did for Batman with Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One. All of that is just gone. I'll disagree with with over a decade old, quote. Sure, but I see it contextually to this and to the mutants who became the SOBs. And this moment here when Batman was able to rally all the SOBs, the Sons of Batman, into this army, because this was the Gotham that this Batman created. So when we have these opening pages here in 1986, we have this of old man Bruce Wayne. He's 55 years old, and he almost gets mugged by a couple of the mutants. Everything, and he's holding his heart. Is that his anxiety, or does he really have a heart condition? And then he comes back. Oh boy, but it starts that way. But this is This is the Gotham that Batman's result. His end result was the mutants, the next generation. I feel that, and I think that way. And we're gonna get into more tomorrow with DK2 that came out in 2001, 2002. It's an interesting time because what happened around that time was something called 9/11, and it's one of the issues was delayed. We're going to get into that story tomorrow. We got to give ourselves something to talk about because we're talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're gabbing about tomorrow when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make regular content. We make daily content. Drop on by. Hopefully there's something here that'll wet your whistle. Ha ha ha. Well, cheers. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Cheers. Bye-bye.